Greetings, my fellow friendlies and Southern thinkers. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful land of enchantment, which is within central New Mexico. And today's date, Saturday, August 8th, 2015. Yep, late night, Sunday morning in the East Coast. So hopefully everyone's doing well out there. Yeah, I just had to take some time off on the watch. Just had a few things going. But I get ready to leave in a couple days to the Beehive State. And we'll do my podcast up there as well. Yeah, it's going to make this pretty short. I know the biggest trend here would be Bernie Sanders' ordeal with some of the representatives of Black Lives Matter in Seattle. But first, I want to go to truthcensored.net. I've been keeping track on this, and actually came out earlier today. It's just entitled here, Veteran Administration goes to vets' homes to confiscate his guns. Citizens stand guard. There's a video for that as well, and it's by Lauren Richardson. It reads here, citizens and the local sheriff stand guard at veterans' homes to keep the Veteran Administration from confiscating his guns. VA sent this veteran a letter notifying him that they were coming for his guns, claiming he is incompetent. This is from Creme 2. Reported. Pressed River, Idaho veteran John Arnold said he received a letter on June 30th telling him Veterans Affairs representatives were planning to pick up his guns. Dozens gathered in front of Arnold's home Thursday to support his right to keep those guns. A couple of days ago, it was going to be me sitting here with John, and today is quite a few folks that. So it's veterans taking care of veterans. That person probably wrote that twice, okay? Said Arnold friend Ranger Rick. Arnold had a stroke a year ago. In January, paperwork filed with the VA stated that Arnold was financially incompetent and could not handle his own affairs. Arnold claimed the box that was checked was done in error and he was always competent to handle himself. However, the VA said due to the paperwork, Arnold's no longer to buy, sell, or possess firearms. If somebody else makes an error and they cause you grief, they should fix it, Arnold said. That's all. I want is that stuff to get fixed. Yeah, it's common sense. Things happen. I agree with that. Arnold received a letter that his firearms would be taken by July 30th. An inspector was scheduled to go to Arnold's home, Arnold 6, to complete an inspection and seize the guns. Arnold said he was amazed at the support he received Thursday. Community members showed up to support him, and two state representatives made appearances as well. Representative Heather Scott from Idaho and Representative Matt Shea were both in attendance. It's absolutely amazing, and it gives you a newfound hope that there are still people out there, said supporter Maria Bosworth. A field officer with Bonner County Veteran Services made an appearance at the gathering at Arnold's home Thursday afternoon. He announced to the crowd that the VA inspector will not be coming to Arnold's house that day. Veteran Service officer also said that Arnold may appeal the paperwork stating that he was incompetent to handle his funds. Arnold said he would work with that officer to get things straightened out. I just hope everything calms down and I can live and ease my life instead of worrying about everything, and worry shouldn't be there, said Arnold. And there's the video footage for that. It's like let's check this out. 2 minutes 14 seconds long. And let's see what they have to say about this.
The is investigating whether or not a Priest River veteran is fit to have firearms for being what they call financially incompetent.
Well, the community certainly didn't agree with that, and as Lindsay Nandridge tells us, they gathered to show support for their friend.
I'm here in Priest River in front of the home of veteran John Arnold. After he received a letter in the mail saying his firearms could be taken away, dozens of people showed up here to support his rights.
Well, John called me a couple days ago about a letter he got from VA. Basically, they declared him unfit membership because of some issue with funds.
About a year ago, John Arnold suffered a stroke shortly after turning 70. He says while going through rehabilitation, the wrong box on a form was checked.
If somebody else makes an error and they cause you grief, they should fix it. And that's all they want, is that stuff to get fixed.
Arnold says he then received a letter in the mail from the Veterans Benefits Administration on July 30th, stating his firearms could be taken away because he was deemed financially incompetent. When word of the letter got out, dozens decided to take a stand by rallying around his home the day a field examiner was scheduled to do a home inspection.
You know, a couple days ago it was going to be me sitting here with John, and today it's quite a few folks set up. So I'm, as veterans take care of veterans.
I live in Priest River, and I see this as a horrible action on the government.
It's absolutely amazing, and it gives you a newfound hope that there are still people out there ready to defend our Constitution.
Arnold says he never expected this many people to stand up for him.
I was amazed. Thankful and amazed.
The person who was supposed to come inspect Arnold's home didn't show. However, a veterans officer whose job it is to advocate for veterans did show up while we were there. Arnold says he plans to work with that officer to straighten everything out so he can appeal the decision to have his firearms taken away.
I hope everything calms down and works properly, and I can live at ease in my life instead of worrying about everything. And your worries shouldn't be there.
I reached out to the VA today, but they can't discuss a veteran's individual health record. Arnold supporters say they won't rest until the situation is resolved. Lindsay Nadrich, Creme 2 News.
That was nice. I'm glad to hear about that too. And it was really interesting about the whole thing with that. Well, you're going to take someone's firearms away because they claim to be incompetent. Yes, and of course, the gentleman made an honest mistake as well. Arnold did make a mistake. Mr. Arnold made a mistake on that, which it happens. It's human. It's human as a human element. But if you're gonna just take the initiative to take the person's firearms away, it's totally uncalled for and unacceptable. Plus, you have people out there that can use those things. All right, can use the tools to defend themselves, their families, etc. So the Veterans Administration was smart by doing a reconsidering and doing the appeal. But I'll tell you one thing to the VA, the benefits program and all that. If you take people's firearms away, you'd be less of a patriot than Benedict Arnold. A lot of people do remember what happened in Ruby Ridge with Robert, was it Reaver? Yeah, Reaver. And I'm not saying he's a great guy and all that. I don't even know the person, but I heard some critical things about him, and it's still dead wrong. So I'm glad this is hopefully this will be put to rest, and none of these veterans that served our nation shouldn't be treated with contempt. And I don't care what those bureaucrats have to say. If the government makes a mistake, that's okay, but if someone else does it, they want to crucify. But at least over here, it was more of a reconsideration, and hopefully we'll just make sure I'll just keep posted. It may take some time, just to let you folks know, but I'm glad it didn't happen. So give the town, man, give the town folks and the representatives of Idaho and Priest River a thumbs up, man. All hail to the 10th Amendment. All right, so next one's like the big trend. It was KOMO News in Seattle. Bernie Sanders cut short after Black Lives Matter takes over rally. And from the Associated Press, it says here, Seattle says Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders was shoved aside by several Black Lives Matter activists, and he eventually left the Social Security Works rally at Westlake Park without giving his speech. Sanders was just starting to address several thousand people gathered shoulder to shoulder at Westlake Park when two women took over the microphone. It's about the people. It's about grassroots movement. Mara Jacqueline Williford, Black Lives Matter member, said after taking a microphone, the biggest movement right now in the country is the Black Lives Matter movement. Organizers couldn't persuade the two to wait and agree to give them a few minutes, prompting boos from some in the crowd. As Sanders stepped back, the women passionately spoke out about Ferguson and the killing of Michael Brown, and held 4-minute moment of silence. When the crowd asked the activists to allow Sanders to speak, one activist called the crowd white supremacist liberals, according to the event participants. Participants also said a Black Lives Matter activist confronted Sanders, stating he needed to be held accountable. I'm going to keep on. I'm going to make my piece here. Several chants could be heard from members gathered. I Can't Breathe was chanted out as a Social Security Works rally organizer tried to calm the crowd. After waiting about 20 minutes, Sanders himself was pushed away when he tried to take the microphone back. Social Security Works rally organizers pleaded with Black Lives Matter activists to leave the stage and allow Sanders to speak. But the activists remained on stage until the event was forced to end. Sanders waved goodbye, left the stage with the raise of a fist salute, and waded into the crowd. He shook hands and posed photos with supporters for about 15 minutes and then left. Saturday evening, Sanders released this statement on his website. I am disappointed that 2 people disrupted a rally attended by thousands at which I was invited to speak about fighting to protect Social Security and Medicare. I was especially disappointed because on criminal justice reform and need to fight racism that there is no other candidate for the president who will fight harder than me. Organizers thanked the crowd for Sanders for coming, with one organizer stating this is not the ending we had hoped for. Rally at Westside Park was organized as a birthday celebration for Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And I had to watch this video 3, 4, 5 times. And I gotta be very sincere. You know, I am pro free speech and so forth. I'm not gonna argue at that whatsoever. And I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of Bernie Sanders in a lot of areas, but doesn't mean he's always wrong. Okay, when he's right, I'm gonna support it, and I will back him on it. If I disagree, I will explain everything in good faith. Yes, I am a critic of Bernie Sanders, but I'm not going to follow the hype. Just got to look at the man's voting record, his actions, and so forth. There's some things may not be crazy about. However, you got to go up there and talk about like you're the only group that has issues. The people from Black Lives Matter, those 2 speakers from Seattle, were dead wrong. You should need to be more finesse, be more strategic. And I read a little pathetic comments about white supremacy and all that. Come on. You're out of your confounded minds. With your fist in the air, put your little fist in the air. Give me a break. All lives matter. A lot of people are being deprived of their rights and being brutalized by corruption. Whether you're black, white, yellow, brown. It doesn't matter. You think you're the only ones that have issues? I have a question. Are you folks hired to do this or inspired? Going around with your little temper tantrum, think the world should revolve around you. Or Seattle, the city of Seattle. And you know what? You're going to have Bernie Sanders be accountable? Let me tell you something, sisters. If you want to start reform and more liberation, start from fighting within the city. Be organized with everybody. Doesn't matter what they look like. Focus on common interest. I recommend a few things. You know about Larry Pinkney, the Pink Panther? Check him out. Very articulate man. How about Dr. Walter Williams? And you know a good book to read too? Sun Tzu, The Art of War. You always have to be strategic. You don't go up there shaking your little behinds and believe we should kiss before you walk on and give you a ticket tape parade. Remember one thing for those individuals that represents BLM. Respect has to be earned rather than given. And based on your exhibition, it is absolutely unmeritable. Don't get mad. Be proactive. If you're going to blame one person for what's going on in Seattle, take a look in the mirror. With many activists I know, no matter what they look like. We have good discussions, and there's times we stand side by side. That's how you make impact. That's all I gotta say about this. Next one. And by the way, there's a video for it on there as well. You can see for yourself. Make your own judgment. Next one. Came out today. And it is by New Eastern Outlook by Tony Carlucci. It's entitled U.S. Invasion of Syria. Death, the Deep Breath Before the Plunge. See what we can do here. I'll do a PDF format if I can. Yeah, why not? I'm going to do that. Yep. See what we can do. Yeah, I want to check something out here, so don't be shy. Yeah, why not? I'm going to do it like that. And it says here, when Foreign Policy magazine recently claimed Turkey goes to war in their article of the same title, what they really meant was the U.S. goes to war. That is because the lengthy plan that described in their article is not of the Turks' creation, but a long-standing U.S. plan commitment to policy appears since at least as early as 2012. The articles claim that both the United States and Turkey agreed that the Islamic State should be driven from its territory along the Turkish border, though U.S. officials only speak of an ISIL-free zone, while Turkish officials describe a vision for a de facto safe zone where displaced Syrians could find refuge from both regime and jihadi attacks. However, these safe zones are precisely what U.S. policy think tank, the Brookings Institution, has conspired to create over the entire course of the Syrian conflict under different pretexts. First predicted on feigning humanitarian concern similar to the ruse used to justify NATO's war in Libya in 2012, and now using the so-called Islamic State as a pretext. Oh, what a wet dream. I'll continue on here. Brookings 2012 Middle East Memo number 21 assessing options for regime change would state an alternative is for diplomatic efforts to focus first on how to end the violence and how to gain humanitarian access as being done under Annan's leadership. This may lead to the creation of safe havens and humanitarian corridors, which would have to be backed by limited military power. This would, of course, fall short of U.S. goals for Syria and could preserve Assad in power. From that starting point, however, it is possible that a broad coalition with the appropriate international mandates could add further cohesive actions to its efforts. Clearly, while a justification for Western meddling constantly shifts with the political winds, the underlying plan to divide, destroy, incrementally invade, occupy, and eventually overrun Syria remains. In the reality, the latest pretext ISIS was created, and to this day perpetuated to U.S., Saudi, Israeli, Jordanian, and Turkish support. ISIS is incapable of outsourcing the weapons, cash, fighters within Syria and Iraq alone, and immediately receives the vast majority of all three from aboard. In Turkey alone, hundreds of trucks a day pass by Turkish borders checkpoints destined for ISIS territory in Syria and Iraq. So inverted are these supply convoys that a Deutsche Welles camera crew spent a day filming and interviewing locals describing the daily torrent feeding state-sponsored terrorism just across the border in northern Syria. Likewise, reports from Israel's own Haaretz newspaper admitted that the Israeli Defense Force was rendering aid to Al-Qaeda's Al-Nusra Front, long listed by the United States Department as foreign terrorist organization having cooperated openly with ISIS in the past. The report titled Israel halts medical treatment for members of Syria's Nusra Front admitted that. A senior Israeli Defense Force officer revealed Monday that Israel has stopped treating members of an extremist Syrian rebel group wounded in that country's ongoing civil war. The policy change concerning that Al-Qaeda's link to the Nusra Front was made about 6 weeks ago. According to the officer, a number of injured Nusra Front fighters have received medical treatment in Israel. Growing complaints from Israel's Druze community prompt a public statement which proves that Israel, like Turkey, the Syrian north, is providing material support for Al-Qaeda's terrorists. The very terrorists the West and its regional allies are attempting to use as a pretext to yet further escalate the Syrian conflict. If Turkey really wanted to stop ISIS, were Turkey serious about ending the ISIS menace, its first order of business should be stop harboring their fighters in their territory. Stricter measures along Turkey's borders would be implemented to prevent new fighters from streaming into Syria and joining ISIS ranks, and the endless torrents of supplies flowing into ISIS territory in Syria and Iraq. Apparently, though, NATO member Turkey's territory would be interdicted immediately. One may note that Turkey is a virtual port of call for all fighters from across the world seeking to join ISIS, whether they are Uyghurs terrorists, the U.S. and Turkey are trafficking from China, or patsies recruited by Western intelligence services across North America and Europe, set to end from Turkey before carrying out spectacular terrorist attacks back home. In fact, it was to Turkey that one of the several of the French Charlie Hebdo shooting suspects attempted to flee in an attempt to rejoin ISIS fighters in Syria. For years now, these options were clearly on the table, and at the point, Turkey could have exercised them, but Turkey has not. That is because eliminating ISIS is not the objective of this most recent attempt to militarily intervene in Syria. Rather, the objective is to carve out safe zones, as described by U.S. policymakers in 2012, from which to topple the Syrian government. Turkey has no intention of stopping ISIS. There are no moderate fighters. Turkey has to back in this alleged upcoming military operation. It will carve out Syrian territory in a de facto invasion to push the front closer to Damascus in a desperate bid to once again shake the resolve of both the Syrian people and the Syrian Arab army. It also seeks to shatter the resolve of Syria's allies who have thus far stood with Damascus by threatening to carve out Syrian territory in a de facto invasion under the pretense of fighting ISIS, when in all reality ISIS will simply be provided with NATO air cover to further build its otherwise inapplicable fighting capacity. NATO hopes to force concessions from Syria's allies to salvage what would be left after the operation concluded. U.S. and Turkey plan invasion of northern Syria, a power move born of a frustrated stalled conspiracy to topple the Syrian government in quick succession after the fall of Libya's in 2012. A well-calculated power move by Syria's allies in order to counter it. Yeah, welcome to the New World Order. All hail to the New World Order, to be exact. That's how you have to see this. And it's really disturbing, my friends, because a lot of folks got to realize it's a lot more complex than what it is. And I'm not really too fond on what's really happening with the whole platform on what's going on in that area. It really is absolutely disturbing, and plus is purely unacceptable. So that's one thing I gotta say. I'm just not too pleased on what's going on with that. So gotta hope for the best, my friends. Remember that. And we have to let everyone know too that ISIS is a claim that U.S. intelligence are supporting ISIS as well. And I was watching this video from Ron Paul, had an interview with Don McAdams on it. I'm going to add that to my footnotes too. I'm going to add it to my footnotes, so at least people be on the same page, and they can't say I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I've always questioned the whole ISIS agenda, and now things are coming out of the woodworks. Like if you heard my past episodes, I always describe the real past history, dark history of what's really happening with this whole thing on ISIS. Is just very, very disturbing and absolutely unacceptable. Yeah, U.S. intelligence confirms U.S. support for ISIS. So I'm going to add that to my footnotes. So people can check it out themselves. Oops, right there. Come on. Good, right there. I'm just going to do a little rearranging, a little improvise, adapt, and conquer. And people like what I said. Okay, good. That's right. Oh, people like what I said. Okay, good. Alright, my friends. This last one here. I already got that taken care of. Pretty cool. This came out. This is by Daniel Barker from naturalnews.com. It is how guess who's arming up in self-defense? Women and blacks now acquiring concealed carry permits in record numbers. This is fantastic news. I'm going to proceed here. The number of people acquiring concealed carry permits continues to grow, with a 50% increase in the last year alone. Part of the increase is due to a rise in permit applications from two distinct demographic groups, blacks and women. According to John Lott, president of Crime Prevention Research Center, those two groups are the ones who need protection the most. Lott, who is the author of More Guns, Less Crime, was the subject of an interview RearClearPolicy.com in which he discusses the trend. Lott said that many blacks and women have changed their views on gun ownership in recent years, and that the rise in permits among those two groups reflect their change in attitude. My own belief is that if you look at the evidence, women and blacks, particularly poor blacks who live in high-crime urban areas, are the people who benefit the most from owning guns. I think that message is just starting to get out in the last few years. The rate of increase in women obtaining permits is currently around the time that of men. While women now account for 25% of gun permit holders, Lott said there's evidence that blacks and other minorities are also obtaining permits at around twice the rate of whites. Lott's observations refer to studies conducted by Crime Prevention Research Center, which was just released paper containing statistics and analysis regarding concealed carry permit holders in the U.S. For more news related to your constitutional right to keep and bear arms, visit guncontrol.fetch.com. And there's a nice little thing on that. Okay, excellent. So, gun control news. So definitely check that out, my friends. Yeah. And it says here, gun permits increase, murder rates drop. One of the more important findings of the research, the fact that murder rates fell 25% between 2007 and 2014, and the period in which percentage of adults with permits increased 156%. In fact, the states with the largest increase in permits also have seen the largest corresponding decrease in murder rates. When asked how states can improve their permitting processes, Lott replied, "The big thing to me is the cost of getting a permit. You can look at the two neighboring states, Illinois and Indiana. In Indiana, if you get a permit, it costs $45. In Illinois, if you go through the whole process, you're basically talking about something around $450. The problem with those high fees is that people who benefit from permits most are basically poor blacks who live in high crime urban areas who are victims of crime. If the fee is $450 plus training costs, who do you think is going to obtain the permit? This isn't even though including the cost of the gun. Plus, you have other fees in Illinois. You have to get a license to own a gun. which is unconstitutional under their illegal under their state constitution. By the way, Illinois Constitution, totally illegal. It's those types of costs that make it so poor people are priced out of the ability to go and defend themselves. It is clear where the numbers of gun permits increases, violent crime decreases. Those who live in low-income areas need permits, so it doesn't make sense to charge high fees for them, especially when it's so easy and cheap for a criminal to obtain a gun illegally. States can find other ways of raising revenue. Meanwhile, they should allow the poor and vulnerable members of the community have affordable access to personal protection. I will continue. The result drop in violent crime should be more than offset the cost of dropping the price of permits, and our most crime-ridden neighborhoods would be safer to live in. One thing is sure, times are changing. It's quite interesting that the two demographics growing the fastest terms of gun permits are one which have been traditionally associated with liberal anti-gun political views. It seems that many of them are beginning to see the light. And that's like I said, it's good that it's happening. People from the women and the blacks are getting permits, concealed permits, which I have to say in good faith, a permit to me is a privilege, not a natural born right. However, I encourage everyone, doesn't matter what your race, color, creed, gender, sexual orientation, etc. Learn what's best for you to use for self-defense on firearms. So that's a good thing. But seeing the permits, I'm real critical about because you have to get your fingerprints and all that, and how those carry permits supersede your natural-born rights. And I know the Ninth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, for example, and a lot of other states have this as well, including I live in the state of Florida, and as Article 1, Section 2, okay, of natural-born rights, and even in New Mexico, which is Article 2, Section 3, inherited rights. So, and they have enumeration of rights and all that as well. So then they just add it in there just to give a clear, self-explanatory picture. But one thing I do enjoy is seeing people are learning to practice self-defense for themselves, their families, their loved ones, etc. So that's what I'm delighted to hear, and I would recommend people too to check out Black Man with the Gun show. It's a good, a good comrade of mine. Like we won't talk as much, but we follow each other on Spreaker and Twitter by Pastor Ken Blanchard. He's charming. He wrote a book called Black Man with the Gun. And I recommend that. His interviews are articulate. He has soul and spirit. Check him out. You won't be disappointed. And I'm going to add it to my footnotes as well, Black Man with the Gun show. So at least give people a clear picture on what he's about. And you can tell him Loki Luck III endorsed it, okay? So, well, you know what? That is all. I just had to do things short. Thanks, everyone, for listening to this episode. Plus, feel free to download and share this throughout your social media network. If you have any questions, recommendations, compliments, criticisms, love letters, hate letters, or you want to send me something that's interesting, always use your correspondence with decorum. You can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio. You can send your comments there too. Or you can email me at LokiLuck3, which is all together, at gmail.com. Once again, thank you for your time. But always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.